everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we are wrapping up here on the Cosmos or Microcosmos from Ciao. So it's time for us to take our pages, get ready to install them in the book, and go ahead and get our inside front and back liner done. And so I'm going to go ahead and lay that out right now. We're going to get that in, and I've taken this image. It is from the 12 by 12 collection. Yes, 12 by 12. In fact, it is the cover, I think, of the 12 by 12 collection, but I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, one is upside down and one, the image goes this way, but I want my ants on the outside edges, so I'm going to put it in this way. So one's upside down. It's kind of a universal pattern. It doesn't really matter. The flip side did, but not this side. And then I've got this, which is from the A4. And I know that because there's cut-aparts on the back. All of the A4s have cut-aparts on the back. Okay, so the other thing I want to share with you is I did something a little bit different on this album. And I haven't talked about it yet because so far everything I've done doesn't really matter. So the pocket pages are 8 by 8. And typically I make the cover 8.5 by 8.5. So this time I did something a little different. I made it 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. So what does that affect? Well, the only thing it affects is the cover itself. It doesn't affect the hinge. It doesn't affect the pages. All you're going to do is make your outside covers 8 1/4 by 8 1/4, and then you're going to make your spine 8 1/4 by 2 1/2. So it's going to be the same width. It's just going to be 1/4 inch shorter. And I just wanted to try something a little bit different. So the instructions for the 8 1/2 and by 8 1/2 are completely the same, with the exception of the chipboard for the cover and back and spine. Those are going to be 1/4 inch shorter for all 3 pieces, and only for the outside 2 pieces are 1/4 inch shorter. The width of the spine needs to stay the same. It needs to be 2 1/2 inches. Now the pocket pages are 8 by 8, so it's the same. So all I'm really doing is changing how much clearance is going from the top of the hinge to the bottom of the hinge. It's just making it a little bit tighter. I'm not positive I like it, but it's a little different and I wanted to try it. So I just wanted to let you guys know, sorry about the dog, everything in this album can be done to the 8 1/2 by 8 1/2 scale. The only change is really going to be the cover and back, and you'll just need these pieces of paper to be a little bit wider. So again, you can build it to the 8 1/4 or 8 1/2. The only things that are changing are these 3 pieces of chipboard, and all 3 are going to change in height. Only the spine changes in height only. These other 2 will also get 1/4 inch narrower. So hopefully that makes sense. So this is 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. This is 2 1/2 by 7 1/4, and this is 7 1/2 1/4 by 7 1/2 1/4. Pocket pages remain 8 by 8. The hinge remains exactly the same. It is still 7 7/8 inch tall, which is just an 1/8 inch shorter than the pocket page itself. So hopefully I've said enough about that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put these in, and my plan is I'm gonna lay these in like so, and then I'm gonna take this contrast strip and lay it just between, and I haven't decided if I'm gonna mat it in black or not. First things first, I'm gonna go ahead and get these in. I've already inked them. And then once we get these in, the liners in, then I'm going to go ahead and install the pocket pages, and then we'll do the cover. That's always the last thing to do. And the reason is you want to minimize the wear and tear to the cover of your album. So I do it last, absolutely last. Sorry about that. My phone rang. I used my phone to record, and so it rang and interrupted me. But we just got that one piece in so far. Now I'm going to lay this piece in, so I still need to get some glue on it. And I'm going to do the front and back first, and then we're going to figure out what we're doing with the contrast piece that's going to run through the center. So one of the reasons I do this and you'll see it in a lot of my albums where I split the patterns. One is just a lot of one pattern, which could be kind of boring. But the other reason is it allows me to not necessarily have to have an 8 1/4 or 8 1/2, whichever size you're using, square piece of paper, which happens to be a little bit bigger than everything else we wind up cutting in the book, right? So when you trim out your pieces for your 8x8 pad, you wind up with a 4-inch strip. And that allows you to repurpose those 4-inch strips to cover the space, if that makes sense. So I'm always trying to design around the fact that when you trim down your 8x8 page, you wind up with a 12x4 and a 4x8 piece that are left over. So I try to think about how I can use those. Now, if I trim this down to 8 1/2 by 8 1/2, which is my standard size, that doesn't leave me a 4-inch strip left over. So that scrap is going to really not be useful for much of anything, because I don't typically make my flaps smaller than 4 inches wide so that it can accommodate a photo. Once in a while I'll do that, but not very often, because I really want, I want you to be able to actually use the flap to put a photo on it. So that's kind of the thought process there. And as far as going 7 1/4 for this album, I just wanted to try it. I think it being tighter, it might just look a little neater, but we'll see. So the one thing I'm not real sure how it's going to work out is once I do my inserts and I lay my page down, is will my insert exceed the edge of the book? And we're going to find that out together. It might. If it's close, then what I might do is take my inserts out and trim them down a little so it doesn't, because they'll get damaged if they aren't protected by the cover. And once I get the pages installed, I'll put the inserts in, and we'll look at that and see what happens together. Okay. Okay, there it is. That's that. And I'm going to double check, but I think everything I said made sense. Yeah, so each one of these is 4 inches, but obviously it needed to cover 8 1/4, so we've got a 1/4 inch gap. But that's why I like to split them, because then I can make use of those 4-inch strips that get cut away during the process. So that is my contrast strip, and right now it is 2 inches wide, and I'm trying to decide if that's what I want to keep. So there's 2 things we can do. One, we can just apply it, or 3, apply it directly as is. The other one is we can back it with some black cardstock, so you'll see that nice black cardstock pop out, and glue it down. And then the last thing is back it with cardstock and only glue 2 edges and actually make this a belly band. I'm not crazy about belly bands. I think they look neat, but I think things fall out of them, especially if you're going to store your album this way. Things are likely to fall out. Now, if you had a belly band going this way and you're storing your book up and down, it's not going to fall out. But as you can see, I can't do that because of the orientation of this paper. So I'm leaning toward just putting this in as is, and if I do, I might just glue the center so that you could slightly tuck your photos behind it if you want. Now, before we move past this, I'm going to just look at it real quick with a little backing on it and see if I like it. And this was just a rough trim just to get an idea. So it is, I just made it an 1/8 inch larger. So there is the look with the black piping around it, and then there's the look, the subtle, it's more subtle with just the ink. And that is the other look. So I'm going to stand up and take a look at it, get some more perspective. I kind of like the black, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put some black cardstock behind both of these and then adhere it. And right now I just got to see, did I trim this one can I use it as is? There we go. And I'm trimming the background mat to fit so there's no border on this side, because you're already going to get a border just because of the way it lays into the page. So you don't need to give yourself the excess on the black pattern. Okay, that's it. So we're going to put this down. And I liked it both ways, so if you don't want to bother with the black cardstock, I get it. There is a gnat flying around driving me crazy. And that's how it's going to go in. So now we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to trim this down a little bit. I think there's too much black showing, and I'm not having any luck with my trimmer, so I'm going to use my metal ruler and my fancy box cutter. There, that's much cleaner looking. It was just a little too much black, I think. I'm going to do the same thing on the flip side. So normally I do an 1/8 inch border, and I'm doing something just less than that. It's more than a 1/16, but less than an 1/8. So that's pretty much what I'm shaving off. So I think that looks better. It's much softer looking, yeah. So now let's do this one and see if I can't get it in the right way and not have to trim it. I'm gonna have to trim one side, but I can do that. Shoot. I made a mistake with my glue. Okay, there we go. So this side looks really good to me, so I'm going to trim this side to be straight and narrow like the other side. The first thing I'm going to do is trim off my excess. And some days my trimmer can do no wrong, other days I can't seem to cut anything straight, so it's clearly me and not the trimmer, but today's one of those days where things aren't going well, so I'm just going to stick to hand trimming. There we go. Do a little housekeeping, and then let's glue this down. And again, you can make this a belly band, or you can glue it straight down. I'm going to go straight down. I'm going to get one in, and then I'm going to use that as a guide to come across, even though once the page is in, you really won't see them together. I like that continuity. And I'm just basically centering it. Top to bottom. bottom. Okay, I was just making sure it wasn't drifting up or down. It's going in straight, so I'm going to press it into place. We'll do the other side. This can be a little tricky because of the hinge, but I'm going to put a little mark here to help me. Okay, that's in. That's our inside, front, and back liner. And I think it's beautiful. And just imagine, you know, you could have photos here, here, side by side. I think it's very pretty. I think I would tend to put, and this is also a place where you could put large photos. 5x7, which there's not a whole lot of pages where you can do that because there's usually a design element that interrupts it, even if it's just a pattern. Okay, close that up because we don't need it for a few minutes. And now we're getting ready to install our pages, so I'm just doing a little housekeeping so I can open and close the book without hitting anything. This is page 1. Page 1. Okay, that's in. I like to lay it down, and part of the reason I like to do this is I like to see if my borders look good, and it does. So it's very straight here and here. So I'm going to hold it in place while I lift off the backing of the tape. Okay, now we're going to flip it over and do the same thing. Okay, page 3, 4. It's going to slide over. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to repeat this a total of 4 times. And now we're halfway there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay it down, and I'm looking for that page to be cascading nice and evenly, and that it's not drifting up or down. And then try to hold it all in place while you remove the tape. And then once the one side's down, you don't have to be so fussy getting the tape on the other side because it's already anchored. Okay, so that's page 4. Here's page 5. Everything's going in nice and square. Oops, you have to kind of hang on to it because sometimes it's going to want to drift. And then in cases like this, where I've got some magnets that are fighting with each other, the magnet's pulling the page. So I'm going to straighten it, and then I'm going to hold it. Actually, I'm going to try to go this way. Yeah. Hold it in place while I remove that backing. So far I'm liking this 8 1/4 inch cover, but we're just about done installing pages, and then we're going to do those inserts and see what happens, how they lay out. And it's an easy fix if they exceed the width of the book. It's very easy to fix. Shoot, that went under. There's our 4 pages. Isn't that lovely? Okay, now we're going to do our inserts real quick. So for the inserts, I just took a strip and I did the front and back on each side. I often leave these blank depending on how much paper is left over. I haven't finished my cover yet, so I don't know if I've got enough to cover these. So that's going to slide in like so. Oh yeah, that's going to be fine. That's going to tuck in just enough that I don't think it's going to show when we close the book. And these are, I think they're 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, but I'll double check. Yep. So they're just the standard size that I use on the 8 1/2 inch album as well. So the pocket pages and the pocket page inserts, nothing changed. Okay. Now let's close the book and see. Yep, see they're still protected, but it's very close to the edge. So if they were sticking out past the book and I was worried about them getting damaged, I would just take a strip off here, an 1/8 inch off the bottom, and then you wouldn't have to worry about them. I like that they peek out a little bit because you get, you know, some continuity between the pages, but also they're just easy to retrieve. If they're not sticking out or if you don't have a tab on them, you have to open the pocket and then, you know, pinch out whatever's in there. I like that they're sticking out just a little bit. Okay, that is it for the inside, front and back covers, and of course we've got the pages installed and our inserts in place. Now we are ready to get started on the cover. I'm going to take a break and I'll be back soon. Okay, I've got my papers and I think I've got them trimmed out even. Let's double check, yes. So this is, I believe, from the 12 by 12 collection pack, and this is definitely from the 12 by 12 collection pack. The fact that there's cut aparts makes me think it might be from the A4. So this is from the 12 by 12, this is from the A4, and this is going to be our cover. So we're going to put that in, and the back is going to be basically the matching paper. And then for the spine, I've chose these sort of river rocks, which I think are pretty. And they pull in this green here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in. Yeah, I'm looking at it and I can tell now from the scale, this is from the A4 and this is from the 12 by 12. Hi, Nala. Hi, sweetheart. I know. I miss you too. What are you doing? You came to talk to me? I'm almost done. I'm almost done. When I finish, it'll be time for us to cook some dinner. Looking lovely. I went back and forth because I like to add layers to my cover, but this is so pretty I just couldn't let it go. And I didn't have enough of this purple pattern to fussy cut this and pop it. Otherwise I would have. If I would have got 2 packs of the 12 by 12, I would have put this as a base and then popped up the second one. But like I said, I am working with one of the 12 by 12, so I'm going to figure something else out for the cover to make it a little more interesting, but I did want to feature that beautiful blue. And I've seen a couple projects out there, and I've seen one that featured the daisy, and I think I've seen one that featured the blue butterfly, and one that featured the bird. So I was trying not to be too much like everybody else, but those images, the three that I just talked about, are very striking, so they're perfect for covers, because you really don't want your pictures competing with that image. It's just too bold, which makes it perfect for a cover. All right, so that's very nice and simple, beautiful background. I think it makes for a nice book cover. And then our spine, there's some ants on it, and it's not really directional, so whatever looks good. And I think this is from the A4, but it doesn't really matter. Whichever paper that sort of coordinates with the cover is all you really need. Okay, so that concludes the cover, the inside liners and the outside covers. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go offline, and I am going to dig through my papers, what's left, and pick out some cut aparts, and I started doing that. So I've got some things that I'm going to cut apart to further embellish the front, and then I can also lay in some of these embellishments inside the album. I've cut out a couple of the clocks. I think I'm going to use some of these labels and definitely these memories and notes, and lay them inside and work on embellishing the album from the inside out. And that is it for now. I'm just going to burnish everything into place, and that is going to cover the majority of the album. The details that I'll be working on will be discussed in the walkthrough. I'm not going to actually videotape the installation of some of those embellishments. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create. Thanks for sharing your day with me. Take a minute to like, share, subscribe. And if you're looking for paper, come on over to our shop at www.scrapandcreate.com, and you will find our Ciao Bella collections, Stamperia collections, and if it's in print, Graphic 45. Take a look around at our shop. We also have some nice embellishments. So we've got some dies, inks, tags. So there's lots of things to look at. Take a look at our shop. We appreciate it. And again, till next time, this is Daphne from Scrap and Create. See you soon.